Hello everyone. Looks like my microphone is working. Yes, okay. Looks like I'm able to start the stream at 8:30 exactly. This is not very common because usually there's an ad running at this time, even though I start a stream 5 minutes early and the ad lasts 3 minutes somehow. Anyway, I'm doing good, Arctic. How are you? Also, hello Ice Dave and Jeff, Coomer and Maverick. How's everybody? I feel like I'm being very quiet. I kind of need to speak up a little bit. Alright. I've had a sinus headache this afternoon, so I'm a little bit. I'm feeling okay now, but like quiet, low key, chill, you know? So this is gonna be a quiet, low key, chill stream where we're not gonna do anything particularly complicated. He lied. And, I guess we'll see. First off, I made a change on my laptop that I kinda need to push. This is... Alright, just a second. Why do I have 2 of this repository? 3? Alright, Z is glitching, and every time I click on, like every time I do this, it opens a new instance of this. So now the list is just full of it. But that's not right. Everything is up to date. Oh, that's not good. Nope, that's not right. Oh, wait, no, okay. I'm looking at the wrong repository. Alright, yeah, I'm looking at the wrong repository. This is my code editor, and I made some changes to my code editor, but it turns out most of its code is within the UI library's text editor. There it is. Alright. Solve the issue of the missing code. Now, yesterday I showed my code editor, which I've been working on kind of somewhat a little bit lately, but I've been a little bit... well, this weekend I've been working on other stuff because it gets tiring working on the same thing for a long time when that thing is very annoying. And that thing is entirely scrolling. But last night I just very quickly fixed it. I hope. Up here. So I can actually scroll once I get at the end. Wait, this is a lot smoother, by the way. Feels a lot smoother. I don't know what changed. But I literally just changed some math. I didn't even like optimize anything, but somehow it feels a lot smoother than it was last time. I'm not entirely sure why. But when you get to the bottom... Motherfucker, what the hell? Oh, did I not? Okay, hold on. Yeah, maybe rebuild the damn thing. Alright, start again. When I get to the bottom, it should scroll. There we go. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, it's working. It's working. There we have it. Alright, so I can pretty accurately scroll through the text now. Yep. It's a little bit of input lag. Alright, it definitely feels more like a text editor, yes. Hi, MX. And... okay, that needs a little bit of fixing. But we're good. Essentially when I scroll, well, not when I scroll, when I move the cursor up one line, it doesn't recalculate the new offset on the x-axis, which it probably should. But honestly, I'm gonna keep my scroll improvements for some other time. I'm not gonna do them now, because literally I made the very basics of the text editor in like a couple hours maybe. And then it was like, okay, let's add a cursor. Let's make the cursor work properly. Let's insert text. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it was all cursor related. So literally all been cursor related. Actually, this is the entire code of it. 132 lines. Well, shit. Why am I showing it here? We don't have a line count, but this is the entire source code of the damn thing. And it's literally just input processing. Like this whole thing that's on screen right now is input processing. This is just basic setup. Here we have save, just one line of code. What's this? Scroll in line. Oh, for this. Which is, by the way, off by 1. And then the UI, 3 lines of code. Because it's literally just a text field and everything is managed by the text field. And then just like properties and includes. The code is literally that simple and all the heavy lifting is being done by the text field. 132 lines, of which most are actually input processing. 45 line. I would say it is, yes. The other roughly 80 lines left. Yeah. Now, there is one thing I noticed just now, and it's that there's no new lines. As in, there's new lines when the text breaks, and for example, we can see this line here that's empty, but then, between UI, this function, and this function, scroll in line, there's actually... okay, no, it is there. Okay, so it's a line spacing issue, really. There's no line spacing. That's the main issue that I'm having. I think it's just that. Alright. So never mind. Issue averted. I've also been talking a little bit about doing fonts. And I was gonna say I talked to Sebastian Lake, but that's not right. I didn't talk to him. I watched this video. It's very parasocial. I didn't talk to him. But yeah, yesterday someone recommended, he made a video on rendering fonts, and it's actually the longest video on his channel. It's like 1 hour and 10 minutes. So I watched it, and honestly, it's less bullshit than I expected it to be. So there is a chance that I might be exploring font formats soon. Though I have to say, I'm not looking forward to it's not really an issue, but especially for a code editor, usually they use monospace fonts, which is every character is the same width and every character is the same height. I mean, not really the same height, because like you can see the T, for example, is clearly bigger than the C. But like, and then also capitals and stuff. But yeah, they all take up the same width. And they all fit within the same like rectangle essentially. But the font that I have right now is even simpler than a monospace font because it's literally an 8x8 rectangle, well, square actually. So it makes my calculations a lot simpler when it comes to rendering the text. But honestly, we need to improve that a little bit. Because that won't always be the case. Even if I don't end up going with an existing font format and I do my own thing because the existing font formats are shit. Which sounds less likely, but honestly, still not a 0% possibility. This is still an issue that I'm going to have to solve. But maybe not a day that I'm recovering from a headache. That would be amazing not to do it today. Alright, I actually left some to-dos to do. First is scrolling, text selection, and file selection. So these would be really useful because, again, it actually works somewhat well. I can work with this. Well, except for the input lag. I'll have to fix that. This might actually fix it. Yep. That method used to be buggy, but now it's working pretty well. So I'm kind of glad that it's working. Oh, and by the way, we can save the file, which means I just inserted a new line into the file. There were some bugs with that yesterday too, so there's a few bugs here and there. But honestly, it's starting to become usable. And I'm honestly surprised because yesterday when I tried it, it was so laggy and annoying. But genuinely, a couple of bugs in software will just make it feel like shit. You fix those couple of very subtle bugs, and it suddenly becomes so much better. Literally, all I did was fix the scrolling. One issue with the scrolling, not even all of them. And it's already so much better. It was a big issue, to be fair, but it was a very subtle issue. STF fonts. Seriously? I did not know about these. I don't remember him talking about them in the video. Hold on, does it have chapters? It has chapters. There was a whole... Oh wait, no, hold on. He did. Yeah, I completely missed that part. No, it's a brief look, so literally 2 minutes. That's interesting. I didn't even know this was a thing. But that's nice. Because to this day, I don't know what a assigned distance field is, so hey, would love to know. I mean, I can tell from this kinda what it is. Nice. 3D environments for rendering fonts. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. Unfortunately, we're not doing fonts. So yeah, maybe the two things I want to look into adding now that the text editor is actually becoming usable is selecting text and selecting a file to work on. Right, so right now the file is hard-coded. And, oh yeah, okay, hold on. I just remember this. I wanted to make it so that you could open a file from the file browser. right? So you could do this. Which you technically can, but it opens like a text file. From the file browser, I can go into, shared projects, code, here, and here, and it would open it. But there was some issues with passing arguments to applications, so that didn't work. But I think that might be fixed now. So it's worth checking. Alright, maybe I want to do that. Because the file selector, I want to do that part. And honestly, what I was going to do for that is take the file browser's code, put it into a header file to make it a header library, and just include it in here. Just so I have code text selection. Not text selection, file selection. Kind of in an easier way. But I kind of need both. The file browser opening the editor and the editor opening its own file browser. It's supposed to render its own UI. I just want the functionality. Hail Migranto debugger. I honestly haven't used it. I think what I was supposed to say there is debugger. I hardly know her, but sorry about that. Do I still have, by any chance? No. Alright. So I kind of have this thing hard-coded, or if a file is a .red, then you open it as an executable, because that's what it is. Well, a bundle executable. Otherwise, see, this is the part that I don't really want to... I'm going to leave it for now, because I don't want to deal with this whole thing. But the text editor is not a built-in application. It's something that I'm building externally. And you should be able to pick what extension opens what program. So hard-coding it like this isn't going to be great. Obviously, I want to make a system for like defining applications that open programs and whatnot. But we're kind of hard-coding it for the time being. What happened to him? No, not Brian code. Alright. So this should open .c files in the text editor, except the text editor is hard-coded for a specific file, so we'll always open the same file. Having to navigate all this stuff. That failed. By the way, where's this actual data coming from? I wasn't supposed to push that. Get you out of there. And get you to return. Like that. Alright. It says failed to navigate to the package.info, but that shouldn't be a problem. This is from FAT32. Oh, that's old. And then found correct entry. Alright, so these are some debug logs that I left inside the FAT32 code that has nothing to do with this. These two, plus this one. But it kind of didn't work. Like, it didn't do anything. exec, what's that return? Do I have any other .c files that can I just move one? That's probably gonna make it easier. So I have to navigate through all those directories just to get to a C file. That's not exactly the best thing, so let's just take this thing's code and put it inside of here. Return 0. So process ended with code 0. No wait, this process ended with code 0. I'm a little confused by this. Because the code editor is actually... I mean, hold on. Let me try something. The code editor is copying itself into a folder, so I should be able to go into the folder and run it from there. It glitches a little bit, but it runs. So I'm running this, same as I'm running this. Oh, but wait, oh no, hold on. Okay, I'm a little confused here. This is the path to the file. This is the path to the file. It should be the path to the editor, which is, again, gonna be hard-coded. That still didn't work. Oh, and the name of the process, that's not correct. So that should not matter. I don't know, placeholders in format? What do you mean? It keeps returning 0, so it's doing something. Wait. I'm being dumb as hell. Why did I think that this was a... Yeah, the string format. I shouldn't have been using that. I should have been reading what I'm doing. Alright, bear with me. It should be execute this. Why did I think that this was this? Come on. What the fuck do you mean? Wait, failed to read brain.red? What? Why? Brain.red. It's right there. Ah, no, you want the ELF file. You want the ELF file. Okay. My god. We're off to an amazing start here. There we go. Alright, so I told it to open a file, but instead it's hard-coded. So the next thing is I need to give it the name of the file in order to execute it. Will that work correctly? Now, if I'm not mistaken, exec calls bin mod. No, here, yeah, execute. Here it is. What is the argv argc? There. Well, not really. Hello, elf. I could have sworn there was like a helper to actually like handle the argc argv, but I must have gotten that wrong. There should be some code here that copies the argv strings into data that the process can read, but I'm not seeing that. So that's a little bit surprising. Oh, here it is. Setup process arg, which passes the number argc to the process.
Attention followed your channel.
And thus that, and then copies to argv. Alright. So it's not a helper. Ah. That means I have to write this part manually. Alright, because we want to tell it there's one argument, right? And then we want to tell it what the argument is. And the argument is the full path, which is what, a string? It is a string, alright. So right now we have it allocated, and we can pass it in here as a argv. That's easy enough. The thing is, will you allow that? Unused. Incompatible pointers. Yeah. So argv is a char pointer array, the structure of which is weird as hell. This is a char pointer array with one argument. It contains one thing, the pointer to a string, not the string itself. And yet, wait, are you complaining about the const? No, you're not complaining about the const. Now it's a const char pointer pointer 1 to parameter of const char pointer pointer. Forgot to initialize the TTY system. Damn, I hate when that happens. Alright, so, oh, wait, hold on, I literally left the address there, so it was pointer, pointer, pointer. Will that work? Is a question that I am asking myself. You're supposed to get one argument? Because actually, I think maybe last time I did this I was being stupid. Alright, let's see if it works. The full path data work? Maybe. It might. That might work actually, yeah. Alright, we're actually some reason printing that. Yes, it works. Okay. Okay. That easy. That fucking easy. Amazing. Alright. So we're actually gonna leave this file path. We're gonna leave a default. And then we should make a better argument parser, which by the way, I really need one for my build system. So probably gonna do that next time, but now what is it called? File path. Why did I call it full file? It's called file path. Alright, there we have it. For now, this is enough because I don't have any other kind of arguments. It is a custom kernel, yes. And where am I printing the contents of the file? That's kind of stupid. Let's get rid of that. Alright, so let me test. This is the default. It opens its own source code by default. And I can go here and bada bing, bada boom. It opened the code for yes. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. I can't exit. This halts its own execution. Alright, which I wasn't sure if it did or not. Once you're in, you're in. Shit. Are we having a new Vim problem now? Is that it? See, it says process has ended with code 0, but it fucking hasn't? Wait. This is hard as fuck to read, but it's a process monitor. There's also a visual mode with it, which I haven't finished. Because I want the terminal to be able to display visuals, so there's also no way to quit this, by the way. Oh god. So I'm having an issue with this program not quitting. So I go to this one so I can check if it's still running or not, and now I can't quit this one either. And also it's pretty much unreadable, so that's not helping. Great. So I'm a little surprised that you can't quit this one. I mean, the exit... Where is that? Oh, I'm gonna see... Oh, here it is. Okay. Escape halt. That should be fine. Hold on. Here's my Twitch. And it does quit. We can actually see it quit the editor. And then when I went back to it, it was kind of glitched. So that means that it's not updating its view. There. Process has exited. Well, ended. It's very much quit. Oh! I see where the problem is. Wait. It's just getting worse and worse. Okay. So... No, there was something running. But what happened? Oh. Wait. Okay. Here's the deal. Here is the deal. The launcher is the problem. See, when you launch an application inside of the launcher, it runs exec, and that returns the ID of the process that you just ran. From there, you can then access /proc with that ID and get information from that process. There's not a whole lot of information that you can get right now, but you can get one. By the way, I can actually improve the kind of information that you can get very, very easily now that I added that virtual file system that I did a couple days ago. But it gives you info on the state of the process. And when that happens, it stops refreshing its own view until that process ends. The problem is, what it opened was the file browser. Then the file browser opened another window, which was the text editor. When you close the text editor, the launcher is looking at something that's already closed, not the not the text editor, so it doesn't realize that the text editor quit, which is why the text editor is no longer updating the screen. The launcher could update the screen if it tried, but it doesn't. So it does eventually draw over. The thing is that the launcher is kind of very optimized. Also, unfortunately, on its way out, because new UI library means new UI. Though it's probably going to look the same. Literally, the UI library, I made the same layout for it. But
Halland Mel's followed your channel.
I'm a little out of it today, so I'm having a hard time keeping a train of thought. But anyway, for now, it only refreshes its view when there's something to actually render. So it actually only renders the buttons that changed. Hi, Hala. And that means that until you move, it doesn't re-render, and then it doesn't re-render everything because it doesn't realize that it should. Because whether or not it re-renders the entire view is based on
Chaotic_potato followed your channel.
It's based on fucking sinus headache is destroying my brain. I cannot finish a sentence. Halt should wait for children. That might fix it. If I switch to Spanish, it's just gonna be worse. Yeah, it's worth a try. What happens if I don't quit? Well, no, actually, I think this is just gonna lead to more visual glitches. Same thing happens, except now it's this underneath. I don't know who's receiving events now, actually. It's the text editor, and then when you quit a program, the window looks at programs that are attached to it and picks the next one that should get the events. It should be the code editor, but it... Well, I could have checked. Am I still... No, I closed it, technically. One, two, three, this. 1, 2, 3, 4, this. Nope. I'm trying to blindly navigate the text editor to see if it refreshes the view, but it's also not working. It is blocking, yes. Well, no, it isn't. It's blocking until the process is created. Not until the process ends. So no, it's not blocking. I mean, the entire point of this is for me to be able to like work over a directory and edit files, like multiple files. Which already it is a pain in the ass to go between files through here instead of through tabs. But yeah. Sleep on it and then think about it in a month. I'm definitely not gonna make any design decisions today, that's for sure. But okay, at least this works. It just doesn't quit. Neovim, you got some fucking competition. In the text editors that don't quit category, not in any
Roland's
other.
Corner followed your channel.
Actually, I have a mouse, Neovim. Can you do that? The focus is determined by this. Default is the new program gets focused. You can also do exec keep focus if you want that. Alright, so we can leave this here, but honestly, it's not fully ready, I guess. Now, alright, I'm thinking of something. It's more of a, not design, but just like exploring a concept type of thing. I've always talked about wanting to isolate the file system in my operating system, which Plan 9 called namespaces. Not entirely sure why they call them names. Well, because they're spaces with names, I guess. Sure. Just that, you know, we consider namespaces more of a, well, for names, not for full paths. But at the same time, they kind of fit the same concept that a namespace in a programming language, for example, uses. But anyway, a namespace in Plan 9 is that any application has its own ish view of the file system. And any application? Is it per application? I'm not sure, but I think so. The point is, there are multiple views of the file system. And I was talking about that definitely seems very useful because it, you know, could help prevent applications from accessing things in your file system that they're not supposed to access. So I was thinking when it comes to a code editor, like how would you implement that? But then again, it may not be that complicated for me to think. There's an aspect to this that I hadn't considered. So when I hold on, let me reset this fully, right? I have nothing open right now. Close everything. All right, so when I open a Z, this is what it looks like, default view, nothing's loaded, nothing's happening. I can then choose to create a new file and then save it, or I can choose to open a project or open a file. I can do any of these things. Can I not open a file? Not from here, but I can. So I can just open this code by itself, and all I did was open that specific file. But the point that I'm going to with this is that no matter what, I'll always go through this view here, which isn't controlled by Z. It's controlled by the operating system. Well, is it controlled by the operating system? I don't know. But Z doesn't have its own file picker. It does here, where I can see the files that I'm working on. But here it can only see projects or files that you've already given it access to through this view. So I think that would kind of solve the problem of by default, I want to give applications access to a sandboxed environment. They get access to their own bundle, which is this thing. This one only has a .elf, but you can also have a resources folder. There's just no resources in the code editor right now, so it doesn't need them. But you can put pictures in there and whatnot, and you can reference them like this. Where actually this is the root directory, this is the name of the folder, and this is the name of the file. Obviously. And then I was thinking I could also give it access to its own documents folder, for example. So that a game, for example, where you play the game and you save the game and you load the game, but all of that happens through the game's own it all happens through the game's own interface for that. And you don't really care where the save file is saved. And for that matter, you as the user would have access to it, even if it is sandboxed, like I'm saying. So the game could just save its own documents to /documents/saves. Then it can also save /documents/prefs, whatever the hell it wants. So again, it would have access to its own sandbox documents folder that is just for this application. Other applications cannot access it, and by default your application cannot exit from those two folders and any other that I decide that are going to be useful for it. But of course, for any actual files, you'll always have to go through this. Meaning, yes, you always have to go through fopen. If you think about it from a code perspective, but yes, it's more like iOS containers, because that's how iOS containers work. See, in iOS, you do something like file manager. It's been so long since I've written code like this, at least a year, so I don't remember. Path for documents in user defaults mask. Don't quote me on any of this. But the code for accessing the documents folder, to get the path for the documents folder in iOS is this. It is kind of very ugly. But essentially it's give me the documents folder for the user. And as a matter of fact, what it really does is it doesn't give you this. It really gives you something that looks more like this. Which is kind of what I want to do as well. Right? It doesn't give you access to the user's document folder. It gives you access to the user's to your applications documents folder. So if you have something straightforward where you need to work with the file system, but the user doesn't care about it, like I said, a game where you have to save and you have to load and you have to maybe sync it to the cloud, but the user doesn't really care about where the save game is or what it looks like, then you can just do that seamlessly. This folder is more than enough for you. if you need access to the actual documents folder or any other folder, that's what I was thinking. Do you have to give permission explicitly? But the truth is, no. As long as the operating system controls the file selector, which again, it always does. Well, not always, but like this is not controlled by Z. This UI is the Ubuntu file picker UI. And there is no way for me to open a file from Z that doesn't go through this view. So that could help seamlessly add new new directories to the namespace. Again, I'm calling them namespaces. I'm not necessarily in love with this name, but whatever. By default, you're given access to resources. By default, you're given access to documents. And now, going through a file picker that is controlled by the operating system, which means that you can't choose the files yourself. You can choose the folders yourself. You as the application developer, you as the user can pick. Whereas you can't, essentially, the thing is I can't pretend to be opening only this file, but in reality I'm scanning your entire drive. I can't do that. Because in order to add new things here, I ask for permission from the user. So anything that goes through, let's say, /home, that's... I'm trying to make an arrow, and it auto-completes to this. So it has to be a single thing, not this kind of arrow. Escape hatch for software you trust? Sure. Sure. Would be useful. Like full disk access on mask. Yeah, yes. So that solves the question of how to give you access to the user's home folder. I guess what that leaves me with is other resources in the virtual file system. So the actual file system. Now I closed my entire project just to do this, instead of opening a new window in Z, by the way. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. We actually can map out what the file system looks like now, the virtual file system. And single-threaded brain data, yeah. See, access to /console should be access to your standard output, not to the system's standard output, unless you request it. Random can be given access to that, no problem. Graph is not really used. Neither is disk. They exist, and I technically use them to check if the disk is loaded. So, yeah, but also they're not really necessary. Audio, you should only see your own. Boot, you should not see this. Shared, see, boot and shared are actually just like volumes, essentially. The real file system for them is inside. Especially for shared. I need to stop using shared for it. It's home, probably. Needs to be home. So home, you have to request permission. Theme, you can get access to. TMP, you should get sandboxed access to. because you have temporary files in there and they're only for you. And proc, you only get yours. What about inter-process communication? You see your parent in proc. There's no parents. You can. Oh, he's having a dream. You can execute. You can execute programs with exec, but not fork. So there's no parents. Everyone's an orphan. Just like Jester. Still asleep. He didn't hear that. Dog cam. You know, literally, he doesn't do anything beyond this. He wakes up when we go on walks, when I'm eating, and when there's people. So that's really all there is to it. But there is, of course, the Jester placeholder for when he's not there or when he's licking himself, and I need to hide that. All right. Maybe then what I can do. Hold on. Let me wait for the ad that's running right now on Twitch. I'll be back in 3 minutes. All right, we're back. And sorry, so I've been yapping a little bit about file system isolation for processes and how you could. So let's check my notes here. Why is this here? I just realized writing files. This is its own thing. You're not supposed to be here. I already did that. Yeah, file system isolation namespaces. I'm low-key starting to come around on the namespace name. Now, where to implement namespaces is actually a super simple thing. Ish. Super simple in terms of the way that it works. Just that I'm actually working on a branch from a pull request where I'm probably gonna undo some of the stuff that's done here. But because this code became very unreadable. Well, not super unreadable, but essentially anytime you make a syscall, it copies the arguments from user space into kernel space, and then from kernel space into user space. And that's a little bit... I don't mind it doing validation, which it wasn't doing before. But this is a bit much. But anyway, this check here literally is a hard-coded check for /resources, which takes you to your applications bundle. So just turn this into a full router, and there we go. We have namespaces. So it's going to be relatively straightforward to implement. Right. But I think I finally solved the question of how to ask for permissions. There's, again, three possibilities for three types of directories. Directory number one is built-in. Always accessible and sandboxed, like /resources points you to your app resources folder. Then /documents, which doesn't exist, but whatever, points you to /home /apps. Probably want a better name than apps for this. See you, Willfish. Thanks for joining. I'm just gonna steal a library from... That's such a stupid name. From Mac, but hey, yeah, that's what it is. No, don't save that. What else can be built in? TMP points to /tmp /procid. And I'm going to use this format to indicate that this is a variable. Right, so. Namespaces, that's how you write that. Okay. So again, by default, your application doesn't request any special permissions, doesn't do anything special. It gets access to these three folders. Sandboxed. /resources points to its bundle. /documents points to its sandbox documents folder. /temp points to a folder inside of /temp for its process. Anything outside of that can be on request. So it must go through user approval using systems UI. So that means I click on open folder and it shows me a picker controlled by the system, not controlled by the app, where I choose the folders. And then the app gets access to those folders with their real paths, maybe, but it doesn't get access to anything besides that. Or maybe it can choose where to put them. If it wants to access them inside of /projects, and then make that point to /home/project/code/brain code, you can do that. I'm not using AI, no. By the way, everybody, guess who had to lie about their AI usage because they don't use AI at all and their company's asking for it? Guess, because I'm not telling you who. For legal reasons.
TCP stream followed your channel.
Also, guess who read everyone else's responses and just proved that AI is just that fucking useless, that nobody's using it for anything useful. Again, guess, I'm not telling you who. What makes me think that I am faster and providing better code than AI? What makes AI think that it can provide better code than me? Or be faster than me? Alright,
Hello.
hello, TCP stream. I believe now we need to do a handshake. There is no third mode. I acknowledge your acknowledgement. I am not up for a contest. Well, skill-wise I am, but fuck that. Honestly, it's on the AI to, have the burden of proof that it's even worth anything. Because we've kind of been taking AI at its face value for the better part of 3 years. And anyone who hasn't bought into that can see how crazy that looks from the outside, but yeah. Also, like I said, I'm not taking any challenges. Alright, I said there was a third method, but there really isn't. Well, no, there needs to be, yeah. Shared. Alright. I feel reluctant to call it shared, but let's call it that, yeah. I'm actually gonna save this. Who knows, maybe I have documentation. Nah, I'm not gonna save this. That's stupid. No, I know about AI, just again, I need... Can someone genuinely prove that AI is worth anything? Can code faster than me? Doesn't hold me back. Isn't stupid as fuck. Can reason. Can do anything. Without wasting my fucking time in the process? And the answer is no. It can't. But most importantly, why is it that people get so fucking pressed when I say I don't use AI? How is it your problem? It genuinely affects you in absolutely zero way. And I think, personally, that if a streamer is coding for people to watch and uses AI, that just takes away from the entertainment value of it. But hey, from what I'm seeing, it's apparently pretty popular. So what do I know? Alright, so 3 methods for handling namespaces. By default, your application, you just have a hello world, you have access to 3 folders. Well, not to 3 folders, but you have access to all built-in folders. Actually, the entire point is that these are examples, not exhaustive lists. You're given access to a few built-in folders, which can be specific to your directory. They can be not to your directory, to your app bundle. They can be specific to the project, to the process instance. Wait, that's actually another one. There's a separation between those. Alright, so by default, yes, you have access to your app's bundled resources and your app's file system that has been given to it. You know, documents, downloads, whatever. You also by default, so this is another built-in, you're given access to certain folders, but you're given access to an instance inside of that folder. So you're given access to /temp, or you're given access to /proc, which points you to proc ID. You can request access to certain folders. So I was actually thinking the home folder is protected under, you have to request access explicitly, file by file or folder by folder. And then there's some that are just shared, accessible to everyone. But again, IPC comes to mind. Again, I'm using /proc/ someone else's process ID /state for a launcher to know, and the terminal actually does the same thing, to know when an application has launched. You don't have access to a parent or child's process folder. There's no such thing as children. Now, I could, I guess, introduce it. I could introduce a permission to that. I guess. Like, on top of this, accessible only to me and to children, to me and to parents. That's a possibility. Well, not even to parents, to children, to specific processes. So I could even create a simple system for like discovering certain processes in the system that are running or not. And then again, like parent-children type of thing. But essentially, the way that I'm thinking about it is that each driver module, so each of these actually is perfect. That make up each root directory Am I still running it? Yeah. Each of these has its own permission. And then probably some logic to like pass the permission down to folders, because there's more granularity than this. But like we have /proc. Can I'm just gonna move it over here so I can quickly /tmp theme. Shared becomes home. Boot audio in disk graph random and console. Right. So /proc can be supposed to do arrows like this. Needs to be sandboxed per instance. So that means you access /proc for the specific application that you open. You open the same app twice, you get 2 different folders. Same goes for other folders like tmp and audio, input, disk, random, technically even graph. Again, I'm not really using these. You access these through syscall. Well, not random, though you can very much access through the library directly. But you can technically access /random. Wait, so /random, should I make it instanced? Or that would be nice. Theme would be shared, so accessible to everyone. Security, right? Okay, so right now /random is not cryptographically secure, but on Unix systems it is, and honestly I wouldn't mind making it so, because actually both the Raspberry Pi and the Virt virtual machine, it feels weird to say the Virt virtual machine, but that's what it's called. Both of them have devices, like hardware devices that produce cryptographically secure random numbers. So I could give access to those through /random. So I kind of want to make them cryptographically secure like Unix does. Well, I don't know about Unix, but Linux does. /random on Linux is cryptographically secure. So it adds a little bit of extra security if you can have one per instance. Right, so the home directory. The home directory is, what did I call it? Requested. Now the console directory would be sandboxed per instance. All right, so what about this example of I want to see if another process is running or not? What about... I had another one in mind. Yeah, what about hold on, I'm not done. All right, the boot directory. That one contains, right now, it doesn't always have to be like this. It should be system, right? But there is one application. So system means it's not available to userland at all, but there is one application that should have access to it for the time being, which is the theme designer application. Right now it's not a theme designer, it's a theme picker that actually does not use this directory at all. This one. Well, it does read the contents of the directory and lets you pick one. But then on top of that, it should also let you edit the theme that you use. So Right now, this needs access to that. It is a system built in. So, for that matter, if it is located within the boot directory, it can be given access to the boot directory. A little bit of a hack. Not super secure, but hey, it can be done. But yeah, in reality, I want to move that out of there, put it in another directory, and I don't want to give a random user land application access to this partition, because just like you can write to the I do have /theme, so yeah, I guess that could be a proxy for it. Yeah. All right, so that's an interesting thing about /theme. No, never mind. It is shared. Though that means that everyone can modify your theme. That's kind of weird. Don't super love how I feel about that. But alright, that does solve the problem of like what happens to the boot partition. And then what happens to something like this or this, which are actually provided by other processes. Again, the main reason for using /state of another process is to know whether that process is running or not. It's literally just a number that indicates whether it's running or not. That's literally it. So if I have a system of, you have access to your children's state to see that, and maybe even basic like inter-process communication through like standard input, standard output, like the terminal does in order to send input to programs and to receive text from programs, then yeah. Then I always use /compile as an example of a service that you can run on your computer and make available to others. This is chosen by the process. So that process can choose to sandbox, it can choose to share, or it can choose to not give anyone access. Now, as to why you would expose a public directory like this to then not give anyone access besides the system, I don't know. Though I'm back to /boot. Back to /boot. There is someone who does need access to it, and that's this guy, the file browser. So I think very much so. Some applications need to be trusted like actually the file browser, the terminal as well, probably. And most importantly, they need to be given access to the real file system. They don't need to be given access to the fake file system that most applications will be able to see. So right now I can make it so that, for example, all of these built-in applications, file browser, terminal, launcher also, and even theme if I want to. That way you don't get to edit the theme. You can just read from it, but you don't get to edit it. Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Those four be given full access, so they're kind of special applications that are given full access to the real, unadulterated directory structure. All others that come from external sources are not. If we get a little bit more into cryptography, we can make them. I was gonna say crypto, but you can't say crypto. If we get a little bit more into cryptography, we should be able to sign them. And for the matter, signing applications means that you can make them any application trusted if you want. But alright, that seems like a decent way to do this. I am gonna save this in the end because I'm not gonna code this right now. If you could, thank you. I'm gonna save it here. And of course, when it comes to the distributed file system, there's an extra layer of routing there, because sometimes it's not just going to your computer, like your slash console, but it's going to the slash console of another computer. There's an extra layer of routing there, but it still behaves in the same way. Because at the end of the day, that communication of different computers communicating with each other happens through a system module, most likely, and that system module will talk to them through the local computer. Okay. All right, I don't feel like doing a whole lot more. So instead, I'm gonna do one last thing. I might be able to do something great here. Wait, hold on. Can I move this code entirely to C++? Like here and here? Just keep it as C code? Let me make a test. Alright, boot partition init, which is FAT32 initializer. We're going to declare you here. That's fine. We're going to declare you as extern C so that your name doesn't get mangled. And I think that will compile. Well, obviously, because I didn't actually move the function. There's master boot record stuff going on here, which comes from here. It will crash like crazy because I'm now creating a new instance of FS driver. Wait, no, hold on. Don't need to do that. Maybe it'll work. Alright, it all seems to work. Cool. Alright. So I kind of just wanted to move this, all of this entire thing, come with me, over here. I actually don't need to declare the function, but rather I need to declare the system module. And then I can do the same thing for vert.io. Shared. Bloop, 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 bloop. This is no longer a thing, by the way. That should compile just fine. Nope. Undefined reference to Budapest module. Fuck you mean? Nah, it still complains. That's annoying. The module is right here. No, so extern C doesn't really work here. What do you want me to do here, C++? You worked. It worked. I genuinely don't even know what I did to make it work. I just kind of wrote some code and then I deleted it and then it worked. Cool, okay. Great, wonderful. Okay. So anyway, I finally moved some code out of this. The file system is now a lot shorter because I used to have a bunch of boilerplate for communicating with these two drivers. But see, the thing is I want to change this directory to home, but I want to keep the /shared directory because otherwise pretty much everything is going to break. Yeah. Yeah. I just don't want to have to load two modules. I don't want to have to make an exception either. But hey, at least does this show a /home? Where even am I? Oh, wait, there. /home, applications. It is actually running. I was thinking I can just create another module that points to the same module. That just sounds painful to do though.
Lex Bertha followed your channel.
should be able to do this. The P9 FS module and load the module of the P9 module alias, right? And you want to do that including load module, which you do module loader, return. There we have it. All right. Just keep that real quick and do this. All right. I should have a /home and /share directories, which are technically the same. It's not working. That's not good. That is not good. All right, let me see what the directory structure actually looks like. I have home. I don't have share. Wait, hold on. No, I did change the name to shared. Oh, it's kind of reinitializing the driver, so that's kind of an issue. Okay, that worked. All right. So I was reinitializing the driver twice. That was kind of a problem. But besides that, all of these operations just go to the same exact module, just a different name. So I have /shared and /home. And they both point to the same exact place. Cool. But while I'm at it, I'm gonna do one more thing. Forgot to give it a there. You're gonna load module. The module is gonna be the boot file system module. Right, like that. And you are going to include dev module loader. You're actually gonna remove this. We're gonna remove this. Right? We're gonna return, which I forgot that. And then you're no longer going to load the boot FS module, you're going to load the boot. I forgot to actually copy the function. This thing, you're going to load the boot partition. You're going to do that. And it's going to work. Yes. See, now actually I can check that everything's booting correctly. Because in order for the theme to load, it needs to access both of these partitions. But you know what's even better now? You know what's so much better? We don't need this anymore. And that means, does it mean what I think it means? It means what I think it means. Come on, man. Don't do this to me. Oh, wait. Wait, what? No route to mate target file system CPP needed by file system. No. Why do you need that? That was supposed to be... I removed another C++ file. He's happy. One less C++ file in the world. I am happy. My headache went away. What's that? $1 million deposit in my bank account? Amazing. We did it. C++ is no more. Ooh, thank God. C++ is no more in the file system. Also, half the shit is not even being used. So, might as well get rid of that. std.h, Jesus. That's an old one.
Maru Plays Games followed your channel.
Okay, one less file with C++. I'm very, very happy for this development. It all seems to work correctly. Alright. And I'm keeping /shared because pretty much most of these applications rely on /shared for the time being. I need to move them to use /home because /shared needs to be used for something else. I used to call it /shared because that was the directory that was actually being shared by the subjester. Was actually, well, it still is being shared between this system and Linux. It's this directory here. And it is being shared, but that's not the whole truth anymore, so... Alright. Scooby-Doo's back on the bed. Oh, I'm happy. C++ is gone. No more C++ files in my... Actually, yeah, there still are. A lot. Including the code, I just moved it around. I didn't actually delete any. But... honestly, C++, your days are numbered. Days are very numbered. What a horrible, horrible, horrible programming language. Alright, so I guess I designed what namespaces are gonna look like. Let me see if there's anything else here that I considered that I'm not considering today. See, go into documents, goes to shared apps documents, and /documents. Oh, okay, bindings. No. Well, once I start working on this router thingy, I am gonna need to consider certain things like directory aliases. Because, for example, it is kind of what I just did now with virtio9p, because I don't want to get rid of /shared. I'm gonna need to get rid of it eventually fully, because I'm gonna use /shared for something else, for actually shared files, not just the home folder. It's gonna be a whole other thing. So I'm gonna need it eventually to be a completely different module called shared, or located at /shared. But I'm going to need to first migrate anyone that's referencing /shared to reference home. So for the time being, I'm gonna keep it. But even though that binding is eventually gonna be gone, there's gonna be more aliases and stuff like that, and Linux is so dumb. I swear to God. In the way, no, not even Linux, just Unix. In the way that it does those kinds of things, you cannot do an alias Like the way that I think aliases should work. For example, I have an alias to my code editor here, because the code editor is actually located inside of the home folder of the operating system. Because I want it to be there. I want it to be accessible to the operating system, but I also want it to be in the home folder of Linux. So I have a soft link, which for most cases is fine, because you just click on it and it takes you to the folder, and it actually you look at the path and it's home d brain code. Makes sense. And then I can take stuff from here. I can even do like copy or move commands using this path, and it will work, resolving it to the correct address. The problem is that the reason that that works is that all of those programs are essentially resolving it. So for example, if I did the opposite of what I did, if I kept the original here and then I made it accessible to my operating system by creating a link here, then my operating system's driver would be responsible for resolving the link and finding the original. And it might also not work because the original is not actually being shared with the operating system. I'm sharing this folder, not this folder. So I don't know if that would work. But most apps work just fine with symlinks, but it is functionality that you as the developer have to be aware of, and it's functionality that you have to implement. And I think that's really a poor way to implement these kinds of things. Same goes for hard links. You can have hard links to files, which are essentially fully transparent pointers to a file. Not fully transparent. Yeah. In the sense that let me test it actually. I haven't tried using a hard link on Linux. Alright, so we're gonna touch. What do we touch? Also, a really cool project. Your channel's really underrated. Thank you. We're gonna touch your mom. Alright, there she is. And we're gonna open your mom and say hey. We're gonna close it. Close your mom. Alright. And then actually don't know. S is symbolic. So I want no argument, I believe. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna try to hard link your mom to your mom too. Which worked. Alright, so now I have two files called your mom. Your mom 1 and your mom 2. And if I cat your mom, she says hi. If I cat your mom 2, she also says hi. And if I edit your mom 2, and then I cat your mom again, it changed. Okay. So this is how I believe that links should work. I have two files that share the same exact data. They're the exact same file. They're just linked to each other. They just have two different entries. They're two different files, but they are more less quiet than before. Yeah, my headache kind of went away. Mostly. 90%. It was already like 70% gone by the time I started streaming, otherwise I wouldn't have done it, but yeah. So yeah, essentially we have two of your mom. And I believe that any naively written application that tries to access your mom will be able to access your mom just fine. Oh, do you mean like in general? I thought you meant like from the beginning of this stream. Because yeah, I started out not feeling amazing. But yes, I haven't had a headache since like July when I actually started streaming. That would have been horrifying. But yeah, you kind of get used to it. You get better at it. All right. Um, the problem with doing links this way is that it only works for files. And if you look at the help for directory, allow the super user to attempt to hard link directories. Note, will probably fail due to system restrictions even for the super user. Which means you literally cannot do this. Hard links not allowed for directory, and then if I try to force it, operation not permitted, and even if I try to sudo it, operation not permitted. Why are you not allowed to do this? For the love of God. Now, I do understand not allowing you to do it between volumes, and honestly, this might be kind of a restriction that I may have to apply to symlinks, to links in my system, but come on. Does follow age not work? Actually, wait, holy shit, no! Alright, I remembered. My first commit on this project was on the 7th of April. Now, is it possible that it was at 2 a.m. and in reality I started working on it on the 6th of April? Yes. But that means that I've been working on this project for a year and I completely forgot about it. Great. To be fair, I was actually... Don't interrupt me. I was actually busy on... Brother. Alright. Are you done? Thank you. I was actually busy on Tuesday, so it's not like I would have been able to do anything, but I was kind of remembering. I've technically been working on this project for a year. The first version was a 32-bit. Because there was a guide somewhere that was 32-bit. And it is what it is. The second commit made it 64-bit. Doug's always doing Doug things. He's good at it. Oh my god, that's what you meant. Are you done? He's done. Alright. I thought you meant the sneezing, so I was like, yeah, we all sneeze, and that's not necessarily a Doug thing. But yeah, we don't all do that. I don't know about you, I don't do that. Anymore. Alright. I think I'm actually done for today. Wait, okay. I did start out with... Yeah, chat has been a little quiet today. Or actually, this whole weekend. Did I? Oh, no, okay. I opened the right project. Alright, I said I was gonna fix scrolling in the text editor, and I did, technically. I said I was gonna do text selection and file selection, and I didn't do either of those things. But I thought about file selection really, really hard. I actually said I wasn't gonna be thinking, so there's that. But, at the very least, let me finish fixing a couple things. Alright, so code editor has want to OS that on my PC, but it has Windows XP. What C compiler could I use or WSL version? I genuinely don't know. You might be the first person that I hear that uses Windows XP. I don't know what the vibe was at the time. Hello, Peter. Yeah, you might be the only person using Windows XP in 2026, but you know what? Maybe I should look for an ISO for Windows XP and install it on my virtual machine. So yesterday I had to restart my stream because Windows crashed it, so wonderful. I was trying to run an update to debloat it a little bit, but honestly, Windows XP might just be the last. Do I use the G word? The GOOD word? No, I don't use that word. One of the last decent, usable versions of Windows. Vista looked nice, I guess. It's a retro aesthetic nowadays. To our modern sensibilities, it looks okay. Back then, everyone hated it. Yeah, Debian is I mean, Linux is. All right. There is one simple thing I need to fix, and it's this. When you press home and end, it should take you to the end of the line. But see, it takes you one character less. So that's wrong. I thought I fixed it. Feels good to start a conversation when I use Windows XP. Nice. Wait, I remember Windows used to have a concept of like shared folders as well. It probably still does. Like a really old version of it used to have it. I remember maybe the icon for Windows XP looked like a briefcase. Am I hallucinating that? This, yes. But I don't remember what this was. Sync data to other devices. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's actually called the briefcase. It's a special folder that supports a simple two-way file synchronization between itself and another folder. It's designed for mobile PC users so they may transfer it to a removable drive and have it synchronized with the computer to which the removable drive is attached. Still has it? Nice. I did not know. I mean, I just randomly remember that Windows XP used to have that. And yeah. Does Windows 11 have it? Does Copilot have it? Does it have Copilot? Not natively available according to AI. Nope. Looks like it is gone. Finally removed in Windows 10. RIP to the only good feature that Windows had. Actually, I didn't give a shit. I saw it on like my dad's computer, but hey. It seemed cool. That's all I can say. Ferrari is an Italian surname, yes. I'm half Italian, Venezuelan. Most special folders have a hidden file called desktop.ini. They may also have a Windows registry entries describing them. Yes, I do speak Spanish. I also live in Spain, so it really helps me in my day-to-day life to speak Spanish. You can still use it on your Windows 11 PC? Are you sure you're not using OneDrive? They actually just low-key replaced it with OneDrive. I do speak Italian too, yes. The only language I don't speak is English. It's just hidden files. Don't care. I wanted to know how it works for synchronizing. Synchronizes files and folders within itself with any other folder. Over the network. I remember it used to work over the network. I never did it, but I know that it used to do that. Alright, so I just kind of casually remember that. You're Spanish native, so you might guess I'm good at it. Listen, I've lived in Spain and Venezuela. That's not a given, okay? A lot of people cannot speak their language properly, so it is what it is. There's still the shared tab. That's true. Unc paths? What are unc paths? What's the shared... Let me to open it. I would open the Windows Do I dare? Alright, I'm done coding. I honestly don't feel like debugging that thing. I thought it was going to be a simple fix. So I'm just going to open the Windows virtual machine, but just in case that my stream dies like it did yesterday when I did this, because fucking Windows, thank you for watching. And I'm streaming again on Friday. Hopefully I'll be able to do a proper conclusion to the stream, but you never know. So just in case, I'll see you Friday. Because I'm not gonna turn on my PC again and stream again just to say goodbye properly. So just in case, gonna keep streaming. I'm gonna look at this for a minute, but visto lo visto. It's a beautiful experience using this operating system. I really love it. It gives me anger issues. I don't know who Terry Oh my god. See, the joke was supposed to be, I don't know who Terry Davis is, and then it was going to boot to my desktop where I have a picture of Terry Davis. But guess what? I need to finish setting up my PC. Actually, what does this do? Because I always skipped it when I actually had a computer, so... I don't have a computer anymore. I'm actually just doing all of this with my brain. You don't want to know where the cable is plugged in for the internet. Yes, I want to use the recommended settings. Of course. I trust you, Microsoft. I made an operating system for my brain. Did you know you can use Microsoft 365 for free? Alright, I am a 365 party girl, so let's go for it. I can manage my day with Outlook and get 5 gigs of cloud storage and use Word, Excel, and PowerPoint for free. I didn't even agree to it. I literally did not click. Yes, I want to discover tips. Thank you. I can use my smartphone as a webcam. This is, by the way, such a fucking awful feature on Mac. Because, like, if you have it enabled, you'll open, like, any app that uses the camera and automatically it will disable your phone so it can be used as a webcam. And then you have to go on your phone and be like, no, I don't want to fucking do this. Every single time. By default, it tries to use your phone as a webcam. It's really annoying. I actually disabled the damn thing because I don't use that. But still, it's really annoying. I used it once and then, yeah. Create images from the address bar. No way! Hell yeah! How much electricity does that use? I hope it's a lot. Stay up to date with MSN and Edge. Hell yeah! My credentials? Oh no! OneDrive, no! Use your voice to talk to Copilot. Of course, I love doing that. And Microsoft rewards. Come on, get those points. Relatable language. Fellow consumer. How do you do, fellow peasant? Want some rewards? Electricity and drinkable water? Sign me right the fuck up. Make a desktop for every project. Oh, okay. I did forget to mention one thing about namespaces. Is that I was considering to also bundle namespace permissions per workspace. So create the concept of a workspace and multiple applications would have permission to the same folders. So groups, essentially. Hold on. Sorry, Windows. There. Come on, you know I know Terry Davis. I have him literally as two of my desktop pictures. I have the low resolution version on Windows. Then I have this. Wait, upcoming earnings call. This is so embarrassing. Holy shit. I always get a little bit sad when my operating system lags a little bit. Now, mind you, my operating system is being emulated from ARM to x86. At the same time, I'm streaming on the same computer. I'm also running Linux on the same computer. And on top of that, it runs with 512 megabytes of RAM. Pretty sure I haven't increased that, but if I have, it's to 1 gig. On a Raspberry Pi CPU with 1 thread. And no optimizations whatsoever. And I get a little bit sad when it lags. What's your fucking excuse? Are you satisfied with this feed? Well, I can't even fucking click. And also, it's about to be a picture, another picture of Trump show up there. Just as long as it, unfreezes. But anyway, we got Johnson & Johnson and JP Morgan and Wells Fargo and Citigroup earnings calls coming, so hope you're here for that. Can we Okay, can you go away, please? Thank you. Alright, the reason I came into Windows and I'm risking my life is I want to see the file explorer. Alright, so let's go to my downloads. One thing I always liked about Windows is that the new file has a new text document thing. You can actually, can you use it to make any kind of text document? Or is this now called text.c.txt? Should ask Copilot about it. What even would I ask Copilot? No. See, it's called txt. Never mind. Digital signatures, non-security. Alright. Wait, the computer's name is actually hell. And my account is actually... How exactly does someone who streams from Windows use their computer without leaking their fucking email within 5 seconds? Which I also did within 5 seconds of streaming, but hey. That was my own mistake. But genuinely, how do you do that without leaking your personal information by streaming from Windows? Like, it's shown my email like a million times. It's just not my real email, but still. See, it's called text.c.txt, so thanks for that. Very smart. Alright, what happens if I ask Copilot? Like, what the fuck is actually gonna happen here? First off, is it gonna ask me to get a subscription? Yes. Well, it's asking me to log in, which isn't necessarily asking me to... You asked me to log in. I don't know the password to this account, by the way. Continue without signing in. Oh, you can. Okay, I was wondering what I would ask it. Wait, Copilot is actually just GPT. GPT is so fucking stupid, though. And this is Microsoft. They probably shitified it even more. I can't even ask anything, by the way. I'm trying to press enter and it doesn't work. Is it because there's an error? Yep. So now I'm just asking, what do you think? That depends on what you were aiming for. That's a very accusatory tone. Yeah, that's definitely ChatGPT. Look at how much it's yapping and saying absolutely fucking nothing. Alright. God damn it, I was actually gonna do something there. Wait, no, that opens a new machine. I want this one, okay. All I did was just close the window, but luckily it stayed open. View, show file name extensions. What a shit system. Holy fuck. I mean, I'm glad that they put this here, but since I'm used to finding it here, all I find is this useless fucking options here. Open with, yeah, sure. Send to my phone. What the fuck am I gonna send to my phone? I don't have that option configured. Share with. No, I'm not logged into any of these. I can do tar files? It also has versions, right? I forgot that Windows also has this. I've never seen it work, whereas the Mac one is like out of the box, but hey, it has it. Alright, sharing. This is the entire reason we came here. Zip file support, yes. No, I meant tar. Tar is what I'm not familiar with. So I can share over the network. Is it like SMB or SMP? One of those two. But a really shitty protocol that I think actually Microsoft made that most of them use. I use it a lot to share files between my two computers. I thought network access would give access to through the network, not on individual names. Windows was unable to find your mom. Oh no. Why is it called network file and folder sharing if I can only share it with my user? Or am I sharing it as my user? Do you want to turn on network discovery? Yes. This may take a few minutes. God damn. Copy and paste the link. Alright, let me see what the link looks like. God, how much I hate this system. This is a link. Alright. And it just opens this file. So what happened to network sharing? Oh, okay, this is the path. / name of the computer, users, your user, downloads, name of the folder. Amazing. Then there was advanced options, which requires administrator privileges, by the way. I'm apparently not sharing this folder? I thought I was. Alright, the question is, can Linux see it? No. It can't. Ah, that sucks. Sorry to hear that, Linux. Hold on. Yeah, network is fully empty. Cool. No, I like the way that the system works. Alright, final question of the stream. Will Minesweeper open? It's actually so bloated, I never actually been able to open it once. No matter how many minutes, hours, I waited. Alright, we're gonna be here all day, so clearly that's not gonna work. Okay, and with that, we're done. Using Windows for now. I know, it's sad, but it's time to say goodbye. Well, a shorter stream with barely any work getting done. Monday morning. I mean, Monday evening. Just Monday, I guess. Classic Monday. Alright, okay. Finally, it's shutting down. I told it to shut down like half an hour ago. How long is this gonna take? What a useless piece of shit operating system. God damn. Can't even shut down properly. And I'm not even talking about the fact that sometimes you would update and shut down your computer and then you would come back to it having been on all night with the fans going full blast for whatever fucking reason. Happened a lot. Well, okay. Will the stream end before the shutting down? I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm not sure what I'm going to work on Friday yet. I'm going to have to make some refactoring changes and improvements to the system throughout the week. But nothing visual or particularly interesting. So I'm not sure what I'm going to work on yet. But it's going to be related to the usual stuff that I've been working on. Oh, finally. File system, code editor, all of that stuff. It's probably a VM thing, but Windows always takes a long time to shut down. Actually, Ubuntu has been taking a long time to shut down too recently. I don't understand why. It's Windowsifying. Windowfying. Alright. I guess we'll see what I work on Friday, but it's going to be somewhat related to these things. I might even get started on the namespaces thing, now that I have it mostly mapped out. But I guess we'll see. Alright. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. I'm not sure what changes I made here that I would be overriding, but I guess we're good. All right. What the hell just happened?